Welcome to the Jamaica Selectboard meeting for Monday, June 12th. First off, we'll call for any late additions to the agenda. Got a pretty busy agenda. Second, approve the minutes from the May 22nd Select Board meeting and June 8th special meeting.
I can make a motion to approve.
Do we have to do them one at a time?
We should.
Okay. How about the
Motion to approve the May 22nd meeting minutes.
I'll second.
any discussion about those? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And now the June 8th special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 8th special meeting.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Obviously none opposed. Hi, Jessica.
Aye.
I should say that Jessica isn't feeling well, and she asked me to chair the meeting as I'm the vice chair. All right, number 4.
Thank you.
Greg may speak to this, I think, about the Pikes Falls. Whoops, sorry. Oh, an update on filling the treasurer delinquent tax collector position. Who would like to speak to that?
Can you hear me in the room?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll just very quickly, the subcommittee of the board to recommend candidates, formally recommended 4 candidates for consideration by the board. The board has had a special meeting to review those candidates and has agreed with the recommendation of the subcommittee to interview all 4. In the special meeting, the board also aligned on a process for the interviewing. The board is also considering right now the details around the content of the interviews and is in the process of scheduling. It looks like we'll have them all scheduled by the end of next week. And we'll come back with an update at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now number 4, Pikes Falls Road Culvert Project update.
Okay, I can take that. So a couple big projects on hand for this summer. Most notably, I guess, is the culvert replacement on Pikes Falls. And it always eludes me what the culvert number is, but it's basically the middle of the 3 larger culverts at the top of Pikes Falls. It's tentatively scheduled for the week of July 10th. We put it out far enough out to have it be past the 4th of July holiday. Right now, the contractor is still waiting on concrete. It's been running a little slow this summer. Basically, it's a prefab concrete culvert that's going to be moved up to the site, and then the old one dug out and the new one put back in. The rough approximate amount of time is a month. As we get a little bit more specific on the actual literal day, we'll let everybody know. In general, we can let people know now. I know Keith's been working with the other road departments, with the town of Stratton and the town of Winhall, which are kind of at the other end. We'll work out, I'll go through Derek to let the fire department know. There's a couple other list of procedural type of things of just letting people know. So that's where that's at. I don't know technically if it's gonna literally be closed exactly a month from start to finish, or if there's, we could prep work at the front and we could prep work at the back type of thing, that it's only closed for 2 weeks or 3 or whatever. But that's the rough look at where we are at right now.
Thank you.
You get more questions? We'll keep you posted for sure.
Well, I guess discussion, aside from this, because we know not everyone watches these meetings, is there anything, are we announcing it to the town or putting out notices of people who live or use those?
Yeah, there will be notices going up, specifically at the end of the roads. We did talk about, it's not gonna go all the way back to like the Stratton Access Road, but it would be at the base of Brazier's Way. I guess the town of Stratton has some road work and paving and things like that too, that we're trying to coordinate at the same time, so there's not multiple road closures, details, that kind of thing, because there's a paving project going on the access road too, where the major traffic will be rerouted up Pikes Falls. I don't know the exact scheduling of that. But there will be road signage on each end. Keith has talked to, we're talking about how do we let individuals know, but there's also, we can put it on the website and that kind of stuff. We'll just let David know and he'll tell everybody.
Tell everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Is that good?
Sure.
Yep.
All right, thank you. We were to open some paving bids, but I think Greg needs to talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we can technically open them, but what has happened in the course of the past several weeks since we put out the bids, we initially scoped, this is for South Hill Road, we initially scoped the project that we were gonna, I'm not gonna get all the terminology right, but basically take off a couple inches of pavement, re-mill it, put it back down, and then put a top coat over top of that. In the investigation that some of the contractors had done, we kind of discovered that it's not that thick of material, so that the process, if we had gone ahead with that, it would have taken it down to gravel in a lot of places. Because of the way our road standards are met, we kind of for the past, as long as I can remember, mirror the state road standards, just as a customary when we sign off on our road standards every year. And the state road standard says if you get it down to gravel, or substantially, their wording, substantially rehab a road, you need to build it back to the state standards, which is excessive as far as cost goes. Some of the just rough numbers would require us to put upwards of a foot of material back down on top of it, re-crown, reshape the road, and then put 5 inches of pavement on top. And we're talking only 3 inches of pavement. So we are going to work through the next couple weeks, or next couple days and weeks, to redraft our road standards. Just coincidentally, I guess we hadn't signed off on that portion of it this year, so we're kind of maybe an odd little bit of wiggle room that we can set our road standards based on what our town standards are in existing roads, for paved roads, and then put out a new RFP. So according to Keith's contact with the current contractors is that they're not booked up. We were somewhat concerned that we'd be running up against the window of getting this done by the summer. So that's kind of where we're at with the paving on South Hill Road. We are moving forward with replacing the culverts on that road. There's 8 culverts that are going to be replaced. Hunter has been contracted to do that. That project is going to start the 19th. That will require periodic closures of the road as they do each culvert, and some of them, depending on how deep they are, for longer periods of time. The gut feel right now, based from the contractor, is that they can finish that within a week. The homeowners up there are aware of the timing of it, and it's actually a good thing that we get this done. The culverts, once they're replaced and put back, we want an amount of time for the settling to take place before any paving's done anyway. So I can go through the formality of opening the bids, but I'm gonna recommend that we don't accept them.
Are there any of the bid givers here?
No.
Okay.
I was expecting maybe they would have shown,
Well,
but
as a courtesy, I would open theirs.
Yeah, we can.
But if they're not here, it's
yeah.
the select board's call. What do you want to do? Do you want to wait or?
Well, we're gonna end up needing to send out a new RFP.
Right.
Some of these, and I'm guessing it's these two, had looked at the project, and they also recommended that we that we basically take it down, and fill in the holes more or less, fill in the divots, put another, like a leveling course on, and then put a top course on top of it. So they may have bid to that, as an alternative, but I think for procedurally, we should send out an RFP.
Sure.
So, I mean, I can see if there's any notes in any of these. This one is, thank you, Sarah, for the nice opener. This is from Sunapee Paving out of Claremont, New Hampshire. And they basically quoted to the specs of this RFP, which we've since found out that we shouldn't do. The other one, thank these guys for getting out there, and we'll definitely keep them posted on what's going on. The other one is from Fuller Sand and Gravel out of Danby, Vermont, and they have bid specifically to this, to the current RFP. So my recommendation is that we decline these bids, respectfully decline these bids, and then we send out a new RFP. So I'll make a motion to that extent if we want to go there. That's,
I would second that. To decline the bids.
yeah.
But the other,
Yeah, so Mike, I don't know if you had anything more to add, if you can hear us okay. I know you were pretty deeply involved in this too, and working with the contractors.
It was difficult to pick up most of what you said, Greg, but basically, we do want to make sure that we're getting all the bidders the same information, the quantities and the scope of work. So it would probably be in the towns.
because Mark was going back around the corner coming in, and like, I'm coming down the hill, that's like, kind of worm out of the way. Like,
Jessica, could you
so he
mute?
stops, get down the front car, walks back through the fucking back.
Jessica,
That's too like the slow top now.
Jessica.
could you mute, please?
There we go.
You did it?
Yeah.
He's so tech savvy now.
Get myself.
All right, man. Okay, I'm sorry, Mike.
Tough to follow that one. But we just want to make sure that we're getting all the bidders with the same information. So they're bidding apples to apples in this equation. And we can either delay it for the next select board session or do something special called if you thought there was interest in getting it moving a little quicker. But I think it would be in the best interest to do a new RFP and establish a relatively tight timeline to hopefully get these bids back with these amendments recognized.
Yeah, I think based on more or less the new RFP has already been drafted, and based on the feedback that Keith had personally with these two bidders, is that the paving season isn't full yet, and that we still have time if we put this to our next meeting.
We may get another bidder
Right.
too, and it's good not to divulge those numbers.
Right. All right,
So,
the motion is.
Is there any more discussion on that motion?
Yes.
Anything else, Mike? On this?
No, sir, nothing. Thank you.
So, close the motion again?
The motion was to decline both of these paving bids
Got it? All right.
and to reissue a new RFP based on the new scope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes then.
Correct.
All right, now,
Okay.
lucky you, Greg. Number 6, update on the community wastewater feasibility study.
Okay, so this has been a little bit in the making, I guess. A few meetings ago, we had a discussion of sharing a level deeper of where we're at right now with the feasibility study. Brian Xeroff, the chair of the Planning Commission, and I worked up a draft based on some timelines of how we got to where we are now, from some of the recommendations through the Planning Commission and also some of the applications for funding and things like that. And then also an overview of the project, some historical scope of why we were even looking at this. I mean, it goes all the way back to a study initially done in 2020. And then just a few years ago, we looked at it from a different angle and searched out a water, a water study, I guess it was. So I've shared just today, but an overview of the project. Brian's added quite a few more things in here. And I'd like to post that we post this up on the website along with the initial letter that the Planning Commission had put out in August of 2020. These are slow-moving projects, and from what we've heard is that we're moving fairly rapidly, even though we're 3 years into it. So we're right now at a critical juncture, I guess, as far as the feasibility study goes. We have all the permitting in place to actually proceed now with digging the test pits. So if everything, that'll be later on in the agenda here, but we would have test pits done, and once that's done, there will be a lot more data to analyze, and then for the engineering firm to put out a preliminary engineering report. So that's where that's at now, and it's quite lengthy. I don't think we need to read through it, but it's quite, there's a lot of good stuff in there. That's that.
Yeah, glad to move this.
Yeah, thank you.
We're in circle.
Yeah, because there's, I mean, definitely a big thing for the town. I mean, there's a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of, misinformation maybe. There's a lot of no information, and there's a lot of good information. So it's all swirling around out there, and it's hard to maybe put a finger on exactly what's going on. I think this couple pages is a pretty good summary of the background and the need. More or less being driven by our town plan and what we see here in the village. We want a vibrant village to maintain a vibrant village. Is that it?
So we need to make a motion to put it on the website?
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily
Just
do
do
need
it.
a motion, it's more an administrative thing, but I definitely wanted to share it, and I want to direct people, whether they're in the audience now or anybody watching on TV, to go to the website. We should have that up there the next day or so, and reach out to myself or Brian Zeroff, Patrick McQuillan, and Jason Katz are the other two members on the septic committee.
Maybe we add the names of the committee and as we post it or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and a more direct contact. I mean, my contact can be out there, and the planning commission is a great place then to give it directly to our project.
Great.
Thank you again. Could you hand me that basket, please?
Yeah. Did you want those? No.
I don't think so. So, next, discuss,
Kate's here too.
excuse me?
Kate's here too.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Number 7 is discuss and select contractor for digging test pits
Yeah,
for wastewater.
That's me too. Okay. Yeah, so actually, there's a number of different steps that all have to take place as far as getting all the permits in place through the state. We were waiting on a few of them. A lot of this is moving into some deadline period as far as getting stuff done. So it's actually pretty exciting that we've got all the permits in place, and Chrissy let us know last week. Chrissy's the lead engineer on this project from Frame Henry, Chrissy Haskins. And we put out a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was, or Mike actually sought out some contractors to get a couple bids on digging the test pits. We actually, I think we went out to 4 different local contractors. We got one bid back from Emmett Construction for $700, basically an estimation of 5 hours of work to dig 7 test pits, which is, in my mind, a really great number, basically, to be able to complete that. So I would make a motion that we accept the bid from Hamilton Construction to dig the test pits for the feasibility study of the section.
Need a second? I don't want to second it.
Second the motion.
Okay.
Any more discussion about that?
I don't have anything more to add. Anybody else more to add? Questions? Pretty straightforward, just like you do in your perk test or your regular septic, more or
Yeah.
less.
Did we get multiple bids? And I'm sorry if you said that.
No, we went out to 4 different contractors, only got 1 back.
Oh, but we did ask for that.
Yes, we did,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and he's scheduled for this Thursday, you said?
Yeah, so that's the state engineer and Chrissy will be on site also. I believe the state person will be on site, so that was part of the coordination.
Great.
We'll put it to a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm opposed.
Where are the testings? I'm just curious.
They're gonna be on Karen's property, just south of town here. There's a, I don't know approximately how many acre lot, but they've all been predetermined where they're gonna be. There's been some testing already as far as the soils. I believe they've already been tested, the soils along the road. They call it basically an urban soils area because it's near the road basically. There's a lot of plumes that are put out by automobiles, so they just test for this. It's an automatic trigger to do quite a few tests. So this is just one more of the tests so that we can gather enough data to determine whether this is.
Okay,
whether it's feasible.
all right, the discussion is over with that.
Yeah,
That
well,
motion,
as
I know,
As in-
that motion passed though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now, who's doing the update on the HVAC proposals, Mike? Are you up to that?
Great, skip one again too.
I did?
The pain.
Yeah, that one.
You don't want to talk about it.
Well, there's a lot of talking there. I have to ask the board. I'm in the painting business, and I've looked at the bids extensively, but do you want me to read all 3 bids? I mean, they're all a lot of money, because it's a big project. But the one that I was gonna recommend at the last minute sent an amendment which changed the price of the windows from an hourly rate to $1,000 a piece. So that adds $6,000 to the cost. And then the smaller windows come to $1,260, so, you know, another over $7 grand. And for a second coat, it was gonna be $12,000 and it went up to $15,000, so I'm kind of a little, put off by the sudden change in that estimate, but he was gonna use oil primer and, so the bid isn't firm. And without any options, it would be $35,000. So add in the options, which are on here. Did you get that, or did you?
Yeah, it's on here too. Those are the options here.
These are the old ones, so,
Oh, this is the new one.
okay. Okay, there's a carpentry budget of $1,440. That's included, I think. Okay, and then so add on the $35,000. I think you add on, could someone keep track of this? The numbers? You add on $1,440 for any carpentry, which they'll easily go through that. And then before the windows were at a $55 an hour rate, the large sashed windows, which are 15 over 15 over 15s, panes and mullions, are $1,000 each. So I think you would add on, and the small windows are $300, so you'd add on another $7,200. And I think that's a lot for the second coat, 15 grand. So the other guy, I talked to him, well, I talked to the outfit, And they wanted to use paint and primer in one, the latex. The thing needs oil primer, trust me if I know anything. An old lead building like that needs to be oil primed. And so I didn't really pursue that one. And then, I mean, there's more detail to the Stebbins spectacular painting that I was just talking about. They can do it now, but Gary Lux said they could do it next year. And their price is not firm either. All these are estimates. So to start, for safe prep painting of the building, the failing conditions will be scraped. Following, prepare any bare wood and spot primed and two coats of finished paint. But I can't find out what kind of primer they want to use. That's like one question I have. They'll need access to water and electric. Products will be Sherwin-Williams. So then there's a carpentry estimate of $75 per man hour plus materials. That will carry a 20% markup. That'll be about $2,400 on top of the $38,500. And they keep saying the amount shown here is an estimate cost only. I do estimates and they're not like these, but maybe I should. Carpentry can be added to the above scope of work on these terms, but they'll ask us. The estimate allows for 32 hours of carpentry. If additional carpentry is needed, a written authorized work order will need to be signed before they'll do it. So there'll probably be a charge for that, I would guess. If, you know, it's hard to say how much carpentry is, but this guy can handle the carpentry. Time and materials window glazing estimate. We will approach this as time and materials job priced at $75 per man hour plus materials. Materials with a 20% markup. So I don't know if that 20% is on list, so it'd be a lot. So I don't know what the $65 is, but they're thinking the glazing is only going to be $2,600 with an asterisk. And I think that means the amount shown here is an estimate cost only. Window glazing is required on many of the old windows. This estimate, allows for a 40-hour budgeted amount. 2 of those windows will take 40 hours. So you can expect to pay more for that. Additional work past this would need another work order. Price does include window putty, but glass, if there's broken glass, that's an additional cost. And they're a year out, and if we schedule them, they want 48.85 down to hold them. They're a big company, they're reputable. I know that the Stebbins company is huge, but I think both of these, the estimates aren't really firm, but Lux seems to be a little more reasonable, but I don't want the board to decide on just what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I was curious about.
I didn't know if you guys got to read all of these or not.
I haven't read the final ones, but I saw some of the initial ones.
Right.
I guess my question, and you being familiar with this, I mean, I know there's a lot of unknowns in there in an old building, but how do you get it to be a little bit more close to firm? I mean, it seems like it's pretty wide open right now.
I can see.
It could double almost maybe. I mean.
Right, with the additional work orders and how long it takes.
But we would have to tell them to do that.
But we want to know in advance that all of a sudden we get halfway into it and someone says, well, we only got 2 windows, we need to do 10 more.
That's what the other guy at least is saying they're $1,000 a piece, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did cost that much.
Right.
They're a mess.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So glazing has to be removed. They have to put down, they should put down some oil primer, reglaze them, the broken windows. Gotta fix those. 15 over 15 over 15, figure out the mullins, the panes.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
I mean, I think there's no denying that it needs to be done, but it's just kind of maybe it's a little easier to swallow if you settle one number than there's so many questions.
Well, we could ask Lux, the other company only wanted to put one coat on, and they wanted a huge amount for a second coat, but they did say they were gonna use oil primer too. That was C&B painting, who I've never heard of, but that doesn't mean they're not reputable. They want $57,600 to start. And they didn't specify what kind of primer they wanted to use, but they're a more firm bit. I don't really want to bore everyone with reading that whole thing, but these include, all of them include lift rentals. They're all RFP certified. They're certified to disturb lead, not remove it, but to work with it. So you gotta have plastic down, all be in compliance with EPA and renovation and repair. I forget what the P stands for.
The Stebbins total, as you talked through the numbers on the Stebbins, it was 58.6.
Yeah, with
So,
a lot of,
including the second coat, but that's the 1,000 per
it
window.
needs a second coat. I mean, if they're doing it, they might, and plus lower on the bottom part, looking at it, you know, paint doesn't, one coat doesn't lay down even. The second coat makes it much more presentable or pretty.
And last
So
one.
we probably put an eggshell or pearl or satin finish on it, a harder finish and flat, I would guess. With the same colors, all of these are the same colors. So I liked Stebbins until they made the amendments. And there's a little flexibility and extra cost in there. This guy seems firm, but.
No, he has, it's significant damage, additional
Right,
cost.
carpentry.
It almost seems like they're all gonna have an addendum
Right,
eventually. And that
He
maybe,
doesn't discuss the windows at all on this one, which,
that's another thing, I couldn't
Think they
figure
should
out
probably
whether he's skipping them. I've looked them over and over, and there's just a lot of variables.
it's hard to do apples to apples.
When I do bids, I have to give, like, I'd have to give a set price on those windows, or I thought I did.
Right, and people like that, I'm sure.
They are miserable, they are labor intense.
so Stebbins did give us a set, the other two didn't.
Right,
Right, so that's, in that way, we'd have a set amount. You know, maybe we could add up the windows, how many there are.
another thing Stebbins is using on the bare wood is the cover stain oil primer, and that's a product that I'm very familiar with. That's what I use on older buildings. It's a primer, quick dry primer that prevents bleed and is one of the best primers. The other two aren't saying what they're gonna use. So, I
So
mean.
do we want to dig into these, get more information on the specifics of, are they using oil-based primer, you know?
This guy is
locking the
Stebbins.
windows?
Stebbins, like you said, has firm price on the windows.
Right.
I did the math, and that's 22 and a half hours each at their hour rate, 15 over 15. I think they'd take on, well, they might take, I think that's reasonable. Might even be a little bit under, but I don't think they can go up on those. Like Derek said, those are set,
Right.
and the small windows are set at 130 apiece. So if we want to move on one of these or wait for Lux, get some more information out of him. He's a big outfit too, but I think in the time we've waited, these guys have gone up on us.
I
They
think
wanted a deposit last month, but.
for one, I mean, maybe, sorry if I'm jumping in, but I think we've learned a lot from this. I mean, it's a big project, it's hard to figure out all the details, but would we want to go back to each of them with a few requirements to say, must be oil-based, must give a firm number on your windows. I mean, just force the hand, so to speak, or whatever, so we can then have a little bit more apple to apple to.
Are you hearing all that, Mike?
I heard most of it, Andy, but I just would need kind of a line item, what you would want, maybe from you, and I can reach out to these contractors with a, you know, with a revised cost proposal.
That would be
But
great.
if you can give me some guidance as to what you would want in your kind of formulation of a good quote.
I can with what I've heard from the rest of the board. You want to do that?
Couldn't quite hear that last part.
No? I can, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, I think that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We don't have to act
It's a little
on it.
bit, like, I mean, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, we haven't really had a chance to discuss them in summer.
I will say though, that to get Stebbins or Chris Brown Painting, which is the other contractor, we're probably going to have to secure something pretty soon because we're getting close to the end of the season for scheduling is what they both alluded to me. Of course, with Lux Brush, we can wait till next year, but we probably do want to form a decision pretty soon just to get scheduling going.
Hi, this is
Thanks.
Jessica. I think, Mike, even with Lux Brush, we probably have to get to them in the same time frame, even just to lock in next year.
Okay. I'll talk to you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
Number 9, update on the HVAC proposals.
I think that's Mike.
Yeah, I sent you a write-up that has a little bit more detail about what took place. You know, we're still working with the Municipal Energy Resiliency Program, which is kind of through the state of Vermont and the Wyndham Regional Commission. We have been working with them in prioritizing at least 4 buildings here in town. We are also made inroads with Efficiency Vermont to see if they could help us kind of tease through these quotes that we got. The contractor that they proposed to us is actually about a year away from scheduling any more work. He's way too busy apparently. So there's a need for contractors to do these assessments and evaluations. But we did have a young lady by the name of Megan Chambers who was here with Efficiency Vermont last week. She did walkthroughs of the 4 buildings and offered some recommendations for each, but these walkthroughs really didn't have any level of detail, but I did include it in the synopsis that I provided to you. But there's a common theme that several of the buildings need insulation, both in the ceiling areas, more specifically to the old townhouse, the old town hall building, and more than likely the library. The basement area of the library definitely needs insulation in the ceiling area and in the walls. But we're coordinating with the trustees and the library for more of a comprehensive effort as they look at master planning that area. But it was a good meeting. It kind of at least initiated the communications with Efficiency Vermont. I do plan on following up with them based on these conversations tonight to kind of take the next step and see if we can find somebody that could assess our plans. But I have been given direction by Chris Campany at Wyndham Regional Commission that we should really continue to follow the MERT program. But as I sent an email to you earlier today, the program's kind of moving slower than probably a lot of communities would like it to. So we may not really get much done in this respect until next year if we kind of go through the state process. But that's, you know, the nature of our economy and the limited contractors that we have right now. But the state is still moving forward with this MERT program. And hopefully we would be eligible for some of that funding when all said and done.
Well, I could speak to the town hall. A contractor told me, it will remain unnamed, but a citizen was concerned about us taking the oil out of there, as we knew that place is somewhat of a wind tunnel with no insulation, leaky windows. That one really, and that lady also said that we should leave that alone for now. And then just, I want to, is there an urgency to switch these over, or is it just the money aspect of it? I was in a transportation committee meeting earlier, and they were talking about all kinds of electric projects, and this came up. The technology is still moving, you know, forward supposedly with heat pumps. One of the members was concerned, are we going to totally eliminate oil on these older buildings? But I'm getting off topic a little bit, but the state's electric agenda is mostly focused on heat, charging stations, and on the committee I'm on, but Mike serves on the energy, WRC Energy Committee. Is that right, Mike? So
Yes,
they're talking about maybe not combining us, but getting us to share information, or this.
You're correct. They did mention that as part of the regional plan update to kind of tie the two, I guess, disciplines together as part of the regional plan, tying electric technology with vehicles and transportation.
So Mike is our other commissioner from Jamaica for Wyndham Regional. Anyway.
But so did you answer your question about the urgency
No.
versus funding versus?
Not really.
Right now, there's no urgency. I think we may have been a little early in the game, actually, but we're teed up for the assessments, whether it's level 1 or level 2. We're just waiting for the Wyndham Regional Commission to kind of give us the go ahead and bring in the folks through Efficiency Vermont or subcontractors through the state.
And most of that was.
Hi, this is,
Go ahead, Jessica.
hi.
If I can add to the answer to that question, Derek, we did talk about this at the last meeting. The town office definitely has some real failings in terms of heating and air conditioning. In fact, all the buildings do. And I think Mike's, portfolio is to see what we could get without for free from the state in terms of expertise, funding, et cetera. So that's really, the baseline is something does need to get done in basically all of these buildings. Are they gonna burn to the ground tomorrow? No, but they're not comfortable. There are issues. So there is a driver. And if we can get like what Mike's working on to get these kinds of professional evaluations for free with specific recommendations, and then maybe get some grant money. That was the driver.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. We can move on to number 10. I didn't have a chance to read this, but I'm familiar with the Sheriff's Department contracts. And did you want to look at this and come back to it, or it's pretty much like the other ones?
Yeah, that would be my first question.
Little price difference.
Right, of course.
So,
But their coverage would be the same, I guess. Those
well,
are
we're up for renewal on our Wyndham County Sheriff's Department contract. We've done this for a number of years in a row now. And I just got it. Just getting to look at it a little while ago. So I can tell you that I'm just looking for how many hours they're gonna give us.
22
A month?
a week.
A week, all right. Sometimes it is a month. So before I tell you the details, I did have a conversation with the sheriff a while back because we had that contract that did need to be sent in just to dot our i's and cross our t's.
Yeah.
And he told me that he would be willing to come up and talk to us about the past contract, but he thought that we were either a little bit in the black with him or a bit in the red, but close to the hours that we had never really, I don't think, got in writing. They had owed us some hours, but he'd be willing to speak to us about that and has that reconciled. But in the meantime, we have this contract that did go up from $50,000 a year to $52,000. So they charge, let's see if I can put this in some kind of order. The deputies, he charges $52 an hour per deputy. That will cover related expenses for the hourly wage of the deputy, including workman's comp, unemployment, social security, taxes, police professional liability coverage, and supervision. The hourly rate includes mileage reimbursement rate for cruiser use. So Derek found where, okay, so the office agrees that it will schedule deputies on a regular basis. Now, that's a little vague, but to meet a goal of approximately 22 hours a week of patrol coverage. The office agrees that based on input of the select board and the numbers of hours per month will be adjusted to the specially identified needs of the town. So there may be some weeks you don't see them, 2 weeks. Some weeks you might see them tripping over, you might be tripping over them, but we can ask them, and we have, and they have done it.
Yeah.
We can ask them to come. I saw them here Saturday night, like at 9 o'clock. Somebody pulled over. I was a little surprised to see them, but there they were. He says that they're fully staffed. They're able to get here, and I assume Londonderry, I didn't hear Londonderry wasn't going to renew their contract, which makes it better for us. We met with the other select board in Londonderry when they were trying to see if both towns wanted to do that, so. And like I said, he said they're fully staffed. Their cars are getting all marked. He told me that sometimes they're in town and we don't know it because they're unmarked. And I asked him, well, don't they have red plates? And he said, no, some of them are green, so they may be here and you don't see them. But anyway, he'd be willing to come up if we usually, it seems like we do ask him.
Right.
So if you wanted to schedule him for the next select board meeting, I could ask. Or if not, the one after that, but does the select board want to renew the contract with the sheriff's department? I think the town
I would
has.
certainly, yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got a budget in there. It makes sense that we have this. Without looking from one page to the last years and back and forth and everything, I mean, it's always been pretty consistent as far as what their coverages are and things like that. It's just a matter of what the rates are basically, and we can be pretty, it seems like they're very, very open about listening to us and being flexible with their timing and trying to adjust to peak periods and things like that.
How about, not with the caveat, but that he come prepared to speak to us about last year's contract, if there's any loose ends or any, they owe us money or we got, or maybe they've given us services already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, I mean, would be worthwhile. That's part of the reason why I think we held off
Yes.
on the other one is because it was a verbal agreement that we're gonna, I think we were owed some hours and we were just trying to say how we gonna use those. Do we want credit or do we want to use them? And they were gonna rewrite how they used them, and it was all verbal, and we never wrote it actually into the contract. We had a base contract, and, but to have him talk to that again would be, I think, helpful. I'm open for anything.
And was last year, Tom was on the board, did they give us some money back, or was that the year before?
I don't think they ever gave us any money back.
Didn't they give us
I
some?
believe they did for 2 years ago because
Oh,
we
okay.
asked them to carry it over and then they had like 2 past years, so they ended up paying for
Yeah,
one
they
of
gave
them.
us-
I believe, I'd
Yeah.
have to look,
I'm
but I'm
pretty
pretty
sure.
sure that's what had happened.
But he assured me that if there's any owed, it's not much. So we'll be starting with a clean slate. So I'm the liaison for the sheriff's department, so I'd rather not make the motion. When you
To accept the contract or make the motion to?
To accept the contract.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we accept the contract as written for fiscal 2024.
I second the motion.
All those in favor, is there any more discussion about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed then? That seems to have carried. Thank you.
And I still think it, I mean, if you want to reach out to him, I suggest
I will.
that we have him in the next couple of weeks or a
I'll ask
couple
him
of
if
meetings.
he
not
can come
weeks.
to the next meeting, if not, I probably should have done that, but I think our fiscal year is July 1st. I think we're good till then, which is a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I can't remember when they come in the past.
These things come up quick. All right. Number 11 is use of the small shed on the Water Street town property. Did anyone go and look at that?
I did.
Okay,
So, as I suspected, it's such a charming little building and it's great that it's there and I definitely think it should be used, but I actually went out with Patrick and I feel strongly that there does need to be a layer of, ideally 1/2-inch pressure treated plywood, just, screwed down into the, treads, over the current one. It was very soft. There's already 2 holes in it. And I'm not comfortable personally with people going in and out of that building, before the plywood. I'm kind of hoping, and I can talk to Kate or whomever after to see if we can identify maybe some sources, both of contributed plywood. Like the building's only 7 feet wide and like, we measured it. I think it's 11 feet long or 12 feet long. So whatever, it's a handful of sheets of PT plywood, just to screw it down. You would do it against the plywood's running the short way, and you would want to screw it going the long way. And then it would be, I think obviously the roof leaks, so it's the floor is going to get soft over time. But I think if there was some a layer of pressure treated plywood, we would be good to go. And maybe we could get some volunteer labor too.
Yeah, I agree. We've gotten a lot of volunteers for a lot of the work, and I think it needs that as well. And it's a short-term project. So, I mean, the roof leaking shouldn't really be an issue, I don't think.
I agree.
so that's like information, we don't have to do anything about with that, do we? That's all a volunteer thing, we're not giving them.
We can make a resolution that, provided the committee adds a layer of pressure treated plywood to the floor of the building, they're free to use it for purposes of the pollinator project.
I think that's a good idea.
So you seconded it?
It's not a.
Yes.
Didn't Jessica
It was
just make a motion?
Yes, we can consider that a motion, and Kate can second.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All opposed? I'm gonna abstain.
I've seen.
So 3-2? That passes. Yeah, I'll come back to you. I haven't had a chance to look at the pay orders because I couldn't find them on the drive, but that's my problem. Have you guys had a chance to look? All right, I'll look at them after, so do you usually make a motion to review and approve pay orders?
I will make a motion to review and approve the pay orders.
I'll second that. Any discussion about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. I'll look at those later. Number 14, public concerns.
Actually, we flip-flopped again, the timesheets.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
I need some glasses. Go ahead, Greg.
I'll make a motion to accept the timesheets for the town office listers, highway department, transfer station.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And none opposed? Okay, now public concerns. Paul?
Well, something just came up that I think should be discussed in executive session. Can I ask for an executive session?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Is it to do with the town employee?
No, it has to do with the town's liability.
That is up to the purview of the board to call for an executive session.
I'd like to know what it was before we did, but
Ideally, Paul, you could reach out to me to discuss your concern.
I'm only the vice
that-
chair.
I can do that.
He said he would do that.
Great, terrific, Paul. You can reach me either by email or by phone. I'm just sorry I'm at home sick.
Otherwise I'd be there.
Not as sorry as I am.
Speaking for the other side.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much.
I'm just kidding. My pleasure. Yes, Karen?
Jamaica Old Home Day, we're making progress. I'm asking the select board if we can close off the little side street in front of the church like we have in years past. Depot Street to Main Street. Just that little side part
By the church?
by the church.
Makes sense to me. I mean,
What are you gonna say, no?
right. No, I mean, I don't think it just disrupts traffic. I mean, and that's the main concern. It's not a safety, it's better, it's safer to have it closed. I mean, if those are the main concerns.
We also will be needing to talk to the sheriff's department about the parade and closing down the street for a little bit. We still have to get permits from the state and things like that. Andy, your liaison, do you want us to go through you or contact them directly?
You can go through me,
Okay,
and maybe I better put a bug in their ear.
okay.
Now,
September 16th.
maybe you better remind me too.
I will.
That seems like a long time away, but,
It seems like it's right around the corner too.
I mean, I might forget.
Seems like summer's over already. Stop. Sorry. I went up to, my father is sexton of the South Wyndham Cemetery, and he and I went up and talked to the neighbors there. There is a little section, it's 0.17 acres, that is to the right of the cemetery. For expansion of the cemetery itself is pretty well filled up. There's a couple of spots, but I'm just putting a bug in your ear that in the next couple of years, it's going to need to be expanded. And it is pretty flat. It's on a slope, but there isn't going to be that much work that needs to go into it. There's some tree work that is going to need to be done around the cemetery. The neighbors are going to be building a house up and back, and there'll be some coordination with the town on going around the property maybe, and everything should be fine, but going around it with their driveway to go up to the top. And so they're looking at cutting down some trees on their property, and then there's trees in the cemetery, and they're getting 3 quotes for tree work. And then they're going to come to the town and see if the town would like to help with that. We should cut and trim some of the trees anyway up there. But
Okay.
we'll see what happens when they come in. I'm just throwing these things out to you ahead of time.
Okay, on that note, I was approached by Nelson Coleman, and I don't know the name of the cemetery behind the garden center on Goodyville Road.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to go out and look, but he said there's some tree that looks like it's gonna fall and cause some damage, and so it slipped my mind, but I would ask, who would I approach to, well, I'll go take a look at it, but if it needs to be cut, do I ask, could Keith try to do it, or if it's a tree company?
Usually
deal?
I'll come to the town and, or the town clerk, but Terry used to handle it also. And they would just contact Keith if it was something like a tree down and they would cut it up. Sometimes it's contacting a tree company depending on the situation. So I guess you need to look at it and see.
I'll look at
I
it.
think you can ask Keith, but no, he would probably defer to somebody else if it's more than just a cleanup. I mean, if it's literally taken down a huge tree, it's not really they're not experts in that.
No, I could probably tell if it's,
Right. I'll look
okay,
at
I
it.
was just curious, it's kind of a coincidence.
No, it's a good question. There's trees all the time that need to come down. They're growing so nicely around all these cemeteries and falling on the cemeteries and breaking stones, so it's a good idea to cut them down. On the South Wyndham project, there is no parking there, really. There's just this little tiny path that goes up the side, and it's very wet there. With this, we were looking at it, and it looks like we can put a little parking area there, which would be really nice also, and still expand the cemetery. And then I have a little petition to the Jamaica Selectboard. We are petitioning the town of Jamaica to take on the responsibility for maintaining the Robbins Cemetery located on Route 30 South. And you need 3 people from the town to request this of the town. And according to the state, let me find it here. It's an abandoned cemetery. We have not totally determined who owns the cemetery. Are you familiar with where it is?
No.
So you've got the state garage down in East Jamaica. And just beyond it is the old store, Moe's Market, that Bruce O'Brien now owns. And he's doing some work there, and he's kind of followed this old road that went up through there. And there's a cemetery right up at the top there, Robbins Cemetery. And nobody has taken care of the cemetery or done anything to it for decades. There's some work that needs to be done. Probably it's just going in once a year and clearing it out, blowing out the leaves and cutting some trees that are growing up in the cemetery. When looking at Bruce's deed, it shows that Bruce's land goes to the cemetery. I haven't been able to figure out exactly who owns it, but anyway, according to the state, maintaining abandoned burial grounds. When 3 voters of a town make a request to the select board or cemetery commissioners, which you are, to maintain a private burial ground that has been abandoned and which has become unsightly or has displaced headstones and monuments, the board is required to take some action. First, it must publish a notice in a newspaper of general circulation in the town for 3 consecutive weeks, calling on any person who is interested in the burial ground to put the cemetery in proper condition within 3 months of the notice. After expiration of the 3 months, if no one has come forward to repair and maintain the cemetery, the select board must proceed as if it were a public burial ground. So, I will hand you this petition, and you can take over this little cemetery.
Well, we'll have to verify that they're town.
It doesn't matter if
voters.
it's public or
No, I'm
town
just kidding.
land.
No, that they're
And
from the
Bruce-
town of Jamaica.
Bruce says his land goes to it, it does not include the cemetery.
So does the.
Karen,
Yes.
you have the, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, Karen, do you have the petition with the original signatures on it?
I do,
Can you give that to Sarah
Yes.
before you leave?
before I leave, yep.
Thank you.
Does there need to be background or continued investigation to determine who the owner is in order to proceed with that, or it just
I don't
doesn't
think so,
matter?
because it's for a public or private cemetery.
Right, that's the purpose of the 3 sets of notices, Greg.
Right.
Okay,
That's why we don't take an action until that's expired, that period's expired.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And we're not, I have to go back to the statutes, Karen previewed me on this issue, but I don't think the town actually takes ownership of the lot.
Right.
But the town is,
Responsible.
obligated for, minimum maintenance.
Yes. And I just wanted to say that the flags were put on all the cemeteries for Memorial Day. Nelson Coleman puts them on the Rossonville Cemetery. I did a couple, and the Boy Scouts put them on the rest. And I just wanted to say that Austin Meeks did an excellent job on all cemeteries.
Great, we're glad to have
So
it.
they all look good.
Did anyone notice that we have a new flagpole
Yes.
and flag on the
Yes.
common?
Yes,
It was-
Private citizen.
yeah, we want to thank you, private citizens, for doing that.
The private citizen's mother told me who it was and she didn't want to be recognized. So,
Thank you.
I think we were talking about doing that, but we took too long.
Okay.
And I think the guy might have been, he might be a veteran.
He is.
Yes.
So, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks very much. We did,
Thank
before
you.
Terry passed, we voted to approve the new flagpole, but unfortunately, it's just been a rough period, obviously, on a lot of levels. So it's thank very much for them stepping in.
Okay, any other public concerns? Thank you, Karen. No? How about,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
anyone not want to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.